It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 17th of November. This is the C block, the Charlie block, which means we started right around 7:40, but we're a little bit late this morning. It's 8:44, but that's a whole other story. Okay, John, I'm going to ask you a financial question since you're the financial guru, okay?
I am not a financial guru, and I'm happy to answer your question, Brad.
Let's harken back to your days at Monsanto/Bayer, okay? Let's say you had product A, which was losing 3 cents every time you sold product A, and you had product B that every time you sold product B, you were losing 14 cents. Which product would you get rid of?
All things being equal, I'd get rid of the product that gave me the greatest loss. So I would dump product B and keep product A.
So here's my observation. Last week, it was a big news story that the last penny was minted. And by the way, it was an interesting story that I didn't realize this. The last time a coin had been eliminated from the United States, depth of currency, whatever you want to call it, coinage, currency, that kind of stuff, was like 152 years ago when there used to be a half-cent coin. We used to have a penny and a half penny, okay? So the story I read was somewhat interesting. The reason they got rid of the penny was that it cost 3 cents to make every penny. So in other words, it's costing us 3 cents to make a penny. But the story also talked about the fact it costs 14 cents to make every nickel. So wouldn't it have made more sense to get rid of the nickel than the penny?
Yeah, it would seem so, Brad. But what's the government's did the government, I started to say government logic, which is an oxymoron of all oxymorons. What's the official position of why not eliminate the nickel too?
I don't understand that. But here's the thing. If you eliminate the nickel, you put more pennies into circulation because of the fact that it's less of a loss. For every nickel that you're putting into circulation, you're essentially losing 11 cents. You put a penny into circulation, you're losing 2 cents. So
does it have anything to do with the amount of nickels that are produced every year versus the volume of pennies?
No. But my point being is it doesn't screw up the accounting system like getting rid of the penny does. Because now the problem's going to be, and I heard a thing on NPR, they had this professor who did this randomized study, and he says, well, the average person, they tracked people. They had tracked people, and they tracked all their transactions in cash. And they said that after every single person, that when the dust settled, everybody pretty much came out equal. Some people, if they made like hundreds of dollars worth of transactions and they rounded down, rounded up, whatever the place would do. When the dust cleared, that the times they lost money and the times they made money was pretty much equal. But if you get rid of the nickel, then you wouldn't have that problem because instead of getting change, if you had 6 cents change coming back to you, you would get a nickel and a penny. You'd get six pennies.
Yeah, I get that. So has anybody recommended what you're suggesting here, Brad? Has anybody in the mainstream or with sense in government suggested this?
John, of course not, because it makes too much sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Pardon
that would seem to be frustrating then. It didn't seem to make good financial sense.
Well, I don't see, first off, I know you're not a cash guy. I mean,
I'm under the age of 60, so I don't, I have respect for my time, so I'm not going to fiddle with cash when I'm in line somewhere. I'm going to be a normal person and use a card or use my phone.
And do you write checks anymore?
On rare occasion, yeah.
Do you know the Jerry Springer story? You know who Jerry Springer was, right?
Yeah, Deedum Tots, Brad. But tell it if people who haven't listened to you tell the story recently, tell it again.
Jerry Springer was an interesting character. One point in time, the mayor of Cincinnati, believe it or not, used to be a very successful news guy, was a politician, the whole bit. And one of his things he's still remembered for is he had a encounter with one of the women of the sidewalk, so to speak, one of the streetwalker kind of people. And he denied it, and she came forward and said, hey, he can't deny it. He wrote me a check. So he holds up the check. She got paid by Jerry Springer with a check from his checking account.
Yeah, that's true. He should have used pennies.
Yes, he should have used pennies.
He should have used cash. I mean, I think that's the takeaway. No. To answer your original question before your diversion, no, as a normal human being, I don't use cash very much.
See, I find that sad because of the fact that if you've ever taken a survival course or stuff like that,
oh my God.
I know you're not going to do this, but you go back to Katrina. Okay, the perfect example was this is
we have a lot of hurricanes in St. Louis. It happens all the time.
Think about it for a minute. I mean, you're supposing that things are going to go great. We're not going to have any kind of weird storms or stuff like that. But what happened in Katrina was when the people were trying to get out of New Orleans, they were running out of gasoline, and they were going to the gas stations, and the power was still on at the gas stations, but the internet was down.
Oh, my God. They should have had cash. And what year was Katrina, Brad? And was, I don't know, a company like i3 or any other broadband company, were they really prolific in New Orleans like they are everywhere else in the world today?
John, don't even talk to me about that because of the fact.
Oh, I know. Hey, you know what they should have done, though, Brad? They should have gone in their car and turned on their AM radio. That would have saved them.
John, you're making fun of stuff, but
I am.
Here.
So the reason why a normal, functional human being, let's say people who listen to this show, the reason why a functional human being should start using cash at Deerberg's is because later that day, a hurricane could come to St. Louis and knock out a gas station's internet, and the people would be like, I sure am glad I fiddled with a wallet for the last 7 years instead of being a normal human being and paying with a card or my phone.
John,
because why some old decrepit guy on a radio show told me I should use cash. I think it's sad they don't use cash. Okay, Gramps.
John, let me just tell you one quick story, which you've never heard before. This predates you and I doing the show when I was still doing the show with Shelley, okay? At our studios, I have a very high level of AT&T fiber. At the time, matter of fact, still where we're at, the only fiber we could get was AT&T, okay? Literally, the company came, they hired a construction company to bury the conduit and put the conduit underground. And luckily, our studios are close to a main junction box from AT&T. So I've got fiber that goes under a road into a main fiber box and secure. I'm paying a premium every month because I get enhanced service. If my internet goes down, they literally scramble a truck within like half an hour and the guy comes out to try to fix it, okay? High level of internet. I had it for about a year, and they're building a building across the street from our radio station. And one day, the guy doesn't call dig right, and he just decides he's going to run his skid steer loader over this piece of dirt that he didn't know why it was there. And guess what was in that piece of dirt? My fiber conduit, and he chopped right through it. So don't give me any stuff about how i3 or anything.
And this has to do with a normal person paying for their groceries with cash. How?
The point I'm trying to make is if you talk to anybody in the fiber industry, if I were to call up Mike Elam right now.
Yeah, call him and ask him why the marketing lady won't call you back. That's a good use of his time.
If I called up Mike Elam right now and I said, Mike, there are certain strategic points in the grid of i3 or any of them for Verizon Internet or AT&T Internet that and matter of fact, there's a term we use in radio. It's called, you ready for this, John?
Yeah, it's called Nielsen ratings.
No,
they're made of vaporware.
It's called backhoe fade, okay? And backhoe fade.
Wow, never mind.
Backhoe fade is a term that you use when you're running your audio to the transmitter site and you're using fiber and you have no alternative path other than the fiber, which is so secure and so.
I can't wait for the 5 people that care about backhoe reverb to search for this on Apple Podcasts and be like, wow, I can't believe someone spoke about this and used radio time on it.
John, I can't believe that you, a guy who was involved with comms at Monsanto, didn't you have the book that if A goes wrong, we say B, and if C goes wrong, we say D? Didn't you have that book of all the things that could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, and it also said to go to renderers up there at Bell Park Plaza and hold up the line by paying with cash.
Okay, John. So in other words, if John is, by the way, I don't know if you know this, Brett, John is very prolific on Facebook Marketplace, and he's sort of interesting because he has a special thing. If you notice any of his listings, instead of having like some of the people, if you buy stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and people who do this know what I'm talking about. Some of it's porch pickup, PPU, and some of them have a little box that they have on their front porch. They don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to see anybody. They just say, it's on the porch, put the money in the box.
Yeah, That's how I would be. Now, the Brad Hildebrands of the world would go out there and waste 30 minutes talking about a P-51 Mustang.
No, John has a credit card machine. He has a terminal that just says, pick up your what I'm selling to you and swipe your card right here because John won't take the cash.
Or there's a thing called Venmo, Brad. If you check your text messages, you'll find out that normal people don't use cash for anything and would choose to use Cash App or Venmo if they could.
You don't do much on Facebook Marketplace then, huh? I can tell, John, because of the fact that...
Yeah. No, actually what I do is I look for old decrepit lawnmowers that are going to catch me on fire in a few years, and I say, but I got a great deal. I wasted an entire day saving $20, but guess what? This baby's going to burn me on transmitter site in 2 years.
Can I tell you a story which you don't want to hear, which is funny you bring up? Okay.
That's the theme of this whole C block every day, Brad. Tell me a story I don't want to hear.
One of my edgers that I bought about 3 years ago on Facebook Marketplace, okay? I go to use it yesterday. I'm thinking to myself, okay, and by the way, you asked me this before. Yesterday I cut my grass, which probably is the last time. I don't know, who knows, but where we have more temperature than we had on Saturday, we may be. But I cut my grass for the last time, and I was going to...
And you went and you used your edger.
And I used my edger I bought 3 years ago on Facebook Marketplace. I fill up the fuel tank, and I start edging the ground, and I turn back, or it starts edging along my driveway, and I turn back around to see there was something behind me, and it was like a trail of what looked like water. And I thought to myself, what in the world is that? So I looked closely at my edger. My plastic fuel tank had split, and the gas tank is leaking out from the bottom of my edger. And I'm thinking to myself, the gas tank is, guess right what it's next to, John? Guess what the gas tank is right next to on my edger?
Something that will combust and set you on fire.
It's right next to the muffler. So I'm going like, okay.
And you had PTSD from your fire incident.
Right. I shut it down real quick, and I called the Marthasville Fire Department. They came out, and the paramedics still checked me out to make sure I wasn't burnt on my back like they said I was.
There you go, Brad.
So everything was good.
And then they said, your face looks like you got some kind of a gallbladder in there. Have you had that checked out? And you're like, let me tell you a story. Brad, are you going to tell us what your surgeon recommended last week?
The jury's still out.
Okay, so in other words, the surgeon says you should do something, but you don't want to do it because it's too risky. Is that what you're telling us?
You know what's interesting? It's exactly what you said.
And you're predictable. Go ahead.
No. He brought up some very interesting concerns with my surgery. So I don't know. I'm still deciding what I want to do. I don't know.
And does someone at your age, like, you don't actually need a gallbladder, do you?
No, but here, let me.
But are you worried that you're gonna get a staph infection or some other like MRSA or some decrepit old man thing if you get surgery?
Okay, John, you don't like me reading texts which are not necessarily addressed to me, but here I'll give you one, and I will tell you a story of. This was sent to me. Let me see if I can find it. This was sent to me by. Someone
who knows somebody that had a bad gallbladder experience.
This was sent to me by a friend of mine who is good friends with a doctor. Okay. And let me see if I can find it here real quick. And the doctor says, this is what the doctor who remotely diagnosed me. This doctor did not physically diagnose me, but this is a friend of a friend. So a friend of a friend.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. And this is what she sent back to a friend of mine. It says, and they were talking about, the question was, can a gallbladder burst? And the answer was, well, it usually gets necrotic before it bursts, and the patient can get septic or pancreatitis. Obviously, he's in denial, meaning me. He could end up hospitalized for weeks if he does not get it taken care of. So that is what a doctor, not my doctor, but a doctor who was asked as an authority, said about my situation. So...
And what's keeping you from getting it done is risks associated with the surgery, right?
I told you this crazy weird story that most of the gallbladder operations are done laparoscopically, which, very very less invasive.
But in your case, you have a unique circumstance because of scarring and other things. So they would have to go in a more conventional, old-timey way. And you think that the danger of that is significant enough to keep you from taking care of this.
This is what the doctor told me on Friday. I will give it to you almost word for word. Once again, drop your drawers. He looks at my incision. This is something I had done surgery when I was 13.
Right, we got it. Go ahead.
It's still very visible. And the point he made was, I can't really tell all that much. He says, the thing that concerns me is what you don't understand is the scarring on the inside is not necessarily indicative of the scarring on the outside. He said the scarring on the outside could be minimal, but the scarring inside could be significant. And his point was, if I were to attempt this surgery, he said, I would first attempt it laparoscopically. He says, but there's a good chance I'm going to get your colon when I go laparoscopically because you've had the surgery. And he says, that's when things get complicated because then we have to go in and we have to do the surgery to repair your colon, and then we have to do the old-timey surgery to take out your gallbladder. And I go, wow, that makes me feel real sure of this whole thing.
Yeah. So a lot of inherent dangers there.
Yes. So I'm going like, okay, do I just...
And so the most likely outcome, I think we could all surmise here, the most likely outcome is that you'll choose to do nothing, and you'll choose to continually every probably couple months suffer for a few days, and then you'll have additional anxiety of whether, like Fred Sanford would say on Sanford and Son, this is the big one, I'm coming home. So you'll continue to have anxiety about it, all because you choose to not take the risk of actually getting it taken care of right now.
No, actually, you're totally wrong, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to work for Bill Eigel. I'm going to be on his fundraising campaign. I'm going to get Korean and Vietnam vets to donate money to his campaign, and he's going to give me 25% take on it.
Nice. I like that, Brad. So there's our answer. You're not going to get the surgery done, and you're going to suffer in silence.
No, and then
by silence, I mean you'll come on here every few weeks and complain about, I don't know, I'm just not feeling this good today, John. I got to tell you, I was up all night. I don't like to complain, but I didn't get my gallbladder taken care of back in November when I should have. And I don't know, I got 1 foot in the grave.
Well, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot in banana peel. That's the line I use. No, I'm serious. I'm going to get my 25% commission off all the vets that the Bill Eigel campaign money's getting in. And then I'm going to charter a private jet, because I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have like a couple $1 million in the bank. I'm going to charter a private jet, and I'm not going to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. Who wants to go to that one, especially because I've already been there once in the winter. It's no fun when I had surgery before at the Mayo Clinic, but that's a whole other story. I'm going to charter a jet. I'm going to fly out to Arizona, where there's another Mayo Clinic, the new Mayo Clinic. I'm going to have my surgery done out there, and then I'm just going to bask in. I'm going to have it done like maybe in January. When you're freezing your tuchus off here in St. Louis, I'm going to be laying out in the nice warm sun, thinking about, drinking my Mai Tai, thinking to myself, oh my God, I got that gold-plated surgery out here at the Mayo Clinic, and I flew out here in a Learjet, and I'm going to fly home in a Gulfstream G550. Life's good, and I owe it.
That's good, Brad.
And I
owe it.
What?
Then all of a sudden you took your trash out at the condo, and a zip tie hit you in the eyeball, and you were back to square one.
And I owe it all to Bill Eigel's fundraising. What do you think, John?
I love it, Brad.
Are we done for the day, John?
I think so. Hey, did you record this one?
Don't give me crap
for folks
about it.
Who are looking for Friday show, it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
we did it, and there was a glitch.
I've got what I need to do is I need to put a secondary recorder on there, because
something happened on Friday morning, because I was calling you from 6:55 to like 6:58, and there was no answer, and you answered like frantically. So I should have known at that point that something was wrong, something was amiss. Because Brad, we're pushing 500 shows. You almost never have a glitch or forget to record or anything like that. Like you do a fantastic job executing on the recording of the show. So I knew something had to be amiss Friday.
We have problems. Talk to anybody who works in a radio station. It's to the point where it's like whack-a-mole. You get everything working right, and then you think this thing pops out of the hole, and you hit it to the head, and you have to fix it. It's just an ongoing procedure. I mean, everything. It's like me driving my hoopty cars. You driving down the highway, you fix the front end, and then the rear end goes out. You know what I'm talking about? There's nothing worse than have your rear end go
Brad,
out.
If anybody knows about problems with their rear end, it's you. It's 8:02.
It's me. Okay, that's it. We're gone.